No, I was going to say because of that, if you don't have these things established now, start small. You can't all of a sudden watch a video like this and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I need. This is what I have.
Right.
This is what I desire. Lay it all out there and expect it to go smoothly. So baby steps.
No,
With everything else,
absolutely.
with everything else, it's baby steps. So
Absolutely.
a small one,
Right.
whether it's your child, your spouse, your whatever it is, start small, like anything,
Absolutely.
be, because it's going to be just as much as a shock for that person as it is for you.
Well, I think that's why I think the foundation, the very, very foundation, is just to spend some time with yourself and maybe a journal, maybe a therapist or a coach or somebody to just sit down and help you tune in with yourself and find out what it is that's important. What do I want? What do I expect? What will I tolerate? What won't I? And that could take some time. And I would say definitely do these things and be really, really clear on that before you even begin to have any sort of conversation about it.
Absolutely. And a trick for people that have never done this, because I had to do this. I remember when they said, start setting boundaries. What are your values? What do you care about? What do you want in your life? I was like, I have no idea. So one
Right.
of the tricks that I used that was very good was I thought about some of the best times in my life. And so I would take a
Mm.
scenario, like here I was with my grandmother doing this, and I described everything around that situation, who I was with and what values they had, how they acted, how they treated me. And I kind of made my, like, okay, this is what I really like. And then I put myself in the other situation. Okay, a bad time. Who are they let with? Who did they not? What did they? How did they act? How did they treat me? What made me feel bad? Because if you question it and it makes you feel bad, it probably is, and it's not in alignment with what your values are. So I kind of had like a like and not like, and that became my thing. So I could look at it if I met somebody and I was like, oh, they did not speak to me nicely. Well, that's red flag. You're on this stack. I can't be bothered. And it was very easy once I realized the characteristics and the values that I valued, the traits that I valued. But again, that took a long time to make that list. It wasn't like I made it in 5 minutes, and I
Oh
continued
God,
to
no.
add to it.
And that, values is such an important time thing to spend time with is, and you can Google a whole list of values, you can get examples, but really making that decision, what is important to me? What is it, with me, it's authenticity and it's growth and it's honesty and and integrity and compassion and joy, so what is it that's important to you, was it maybe for you it's justice and environment or so many different options, and just like really if you see a list of value, maybe we can put I'll create one and I'll put it in one of the conversation spaces, just say what's important to you, what really matters to you,
I
and
think I
that's
have
a
one. I think I
really
have
great
one.
place to start
Yeah.
and to think about what's important and what you value.
And I think I made one in my course. I'm pretty sure when we were defining our values, because a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially, I mean, we know this is generational. So a lot of people that are dealing with a loved one that has a problem, a lot of times their parents had that problem or their grandparents. And so it's like you said, it is very foundational. You can't start anything until you know who you are and what you want. And
Exactly.
I think I have that. Well, you can make one too, but we can combine our lists.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. But that is such an important piece. And that is the sort of work we want to do here inside this community because it takes time. And like you said, oh my gosh, down the road, maybe when you're getting ready to have these conversations, well, that's an entirely different conversation at another time. And yes, will it go well? Probably not. And that's the other reason why we're here and to be part of these conversations that we're having and to be able to get support and to get encouragement and to say wow and talk about after and we could figure it out and talk it through because it's going to be hard and it's going to be really really uncomfortable. But one of the things that I think is really important to point out is so many people say I can't do that, they're going to get mad at me, right? They're going to, they're not going to like it. And that, again, that is this is months of conversations right there, because then you're really touching on a couple of things that really are really codependent, right? Our desire to people please and to be more concerned about them than we are ourselves. Okay. Now that's something to look at, right? And that's something we're really, really going to work on because we matter too, right? And the other thing that we tend to do in these situations is, or we think we can manage other people's emotions. And you know what? When we try to do that, it doesn't go well. And but we think that's our job somehow. It's like, oh, they're going to be upset, and I can't let that happen. And that's a whole other mountain to climb
Yeah,
when the time
we
comes.
won't get into that one today because that's yeah.
Yeah. But just really, it's like so a lot of people just like shut down the idea immediately, but they're gonna be mad. It's like, and
Yep.
again, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're here. That's why we're having these conversations because it's like it's hard. There's nothing about this that's easy. Nothing about it that we're gonna get through in a half an hour. Not gonna happen.
Right. But if you again, if you start small, the big ones. The big boundaries that you're eventually going to want to come out and say, if you do this, I'm never doing this, or you can't do this. And the ones in your mind. Baby step them. Start
Right.
planting that seed. Just start taking care of yourself. Start doing a pros and cons list as to if he reacts like this is what I'm going to do. If he does this, start planting those seeds because the longer you wait, it's just one more day. I mean, yes, it's going
Yep.
to take a while, but the
Hmm.
big ones in your heart of
Right.
hearts, you do. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, plant the seeds
And
and every question, it's kind of like I had a coach and I absolutely loved him and he was very business oriented. Yes or no. There was no black and white. And he literally, when he set a goal, so your goal, you want peace for him or her, you want serenity in your own life, you want a lack of chaos, these things. So when you get up to that road and that crossroads in the road and you have to make a decision, he would only ask himself two questions. So does it contribute to where I want to be or does it contaminate my path? And it was, sometimes if you make it almost scientific, it wasn't scientific, obviously, but it was for him. There was a yes and there was a no, and it was a non negotiable. So start steering yourself to that non negotiable yes. Like it contributes, it contributes. And if it doesn't, that's some of your boundaries, the small little ones that you can take. But he made it seem so simple and it was business. He would say, do I want to do this or this today? Does it contribute to me getting where I need to be? And where those things are that you need to be. Like I said, you want the peace, you want the serenity, you want the lack of confusion and chaos, and you want the mended relationship, whatever it is. So, I mean, I'm a big no, I'm a big non-negotiable kind of person. Which
well,
if
and
you have
it
a couple
probably took some time and a few years and a lot of work to get there,
yeah.
right? If you didn't start there.
No,
But
no, no.
I've heard great advice, especially for people who have a loved one that's struggling with substances. And, you could say you're being asked to do something and you don't know what to do. You think, ask that exact same question. Does this contribute to the problem or to the addiction? Is what I'm going to do further the solution or further the problem? So how am I contribute? How is my contribution? What is this influencing or making worse or better?
Right.
Right.
And
And I think that's
when
a really, really good question. And a lot of things when comes to they asking me for money. Well, is that helping towards recovery or is that helping the addiction?
right.
Sometimes that can really help you make a decision.
Yes. And it does fit into, I mean, I can fit that contributor contaminate into many, many aspects of my life, but
Right.
especially when you're dealing with someone in recovery, because again, you're so used to I just want to make him happy. I just want him to be happy. I want it to be smooth. I want it to be less chaotic. And that's not always the answer. Well, as a matter of fact, usually it's not. but
Absolutely.
there is a those boundaries when they're set, and eventually it takes time, but baby steps and the smaller ones, get the smaller ones going. It doesn't hurt. And just know again that they're for you. They're for you and because you can't change that other person. You can't. You can,
Right.
you can, you just can't. So you have to change and and you have to change yourself and the way you look at it and the way you adapt and not adapt, but yeah, you do, but in a positive way.
Right. And and when we heal ourselves, it's the first step to healing our whole entire families. It's such an important, it is contagious, just like this disease of addiction or a mental illness is kind of contagious and it kind of affects everybody around you. Recovery and healing does too. And when we get good at these things, it has an impact on those around us. It
Mhm.
it has to, it must, it can't not.